Good morning, Heat Seekers. Welcome to the Sunday morning Boomer Bust Show. As you can see, I am not Rick Butts. Our fearless leader has been dealing with some things lately, so he might be hopping in later in the shows. But until then, Sully and I will man the ship. Sully, how we do it? How was last week? And how are things looking this week for you, fantasy?
I think last week was kind of okay. Like week 2, I said last week was like the worst week I'd ever had in my life in fantasy.
Yeah.
So last week I bounced back. Have one lone 4-0 team, a couple of 3-1s, then a bunch of rebuilds that I kind of not want to win in that I've actually won a couple. But for the most part, it's okay. This week, we'll see. There's some of the things, I've a bit of Russell Wilson shares that really disappointed me on Thursday, but we'll see. How about yourself?
Last week was bad for me, so I think that mojo got passed on over. But there's just a lot of injuries, of not really injuries through the week, except Javonte Williams and a couple of leagues I was hoping to compete in. Luckily, one of them I'm still pretty deep and had some solid replacements for him. But just like people being out, like Swift, Amon-Ra,
Yeah, those are tough.
Michael Thomas, some guys that were in my lineup that now I don't have in there. So last week was rough. Hoping to have a nice little bounce back this week. I'm really excited to see now Kenny Pickett play.
Yeah.
I traded for him in one of my more expensive leagues. So I got a little bit fun there. And, the Patriots are missing Mac Jones, but there's rumors that our rookie second-round pick, Tyquan Thornton, might step on the field today. I think he gets eased in there. So there's some things I'm looking forward to this week.
There's the opportunity to take advantage of Bailey Zappi's strong arm and Thornton's blazing speed, and who knows, right?
Right.
I could see that. At least take a shot once or twice if one of your defensive coordinators can call the right play.
Yeah, I mean, and then last week people said he didn't look bad, and Bill Belichick, like, people can say what they want about Belichick, like he's not the greatest coach, but he can make every game close with whoever's on the field. Like, They got that rookie quarterback out there. He only threw 15 times. I expect him to have to throw more this week. The Lions offense, though that team is not very good overall, like that offense is high powered. Like Jared Goff can always sling it. Seems like they just got the talent to be good. So I'm thinking he's going to have to throw closer to 25 to 30 times today. So it'll be interesting to see how he does under that pressure.
It's pretty interesting that the Lions have scored the most and given up the most in the league. So it's just a track meet every time they play. It's fun for fantasy.
Sounds like that defensive coordinator might be in a hot seat. But again, he does have a very young defense. Like, he's got a lot of like first and second year guys out there. So they might give him a year or two before maybe giving him the axe, or hopefully at least give him a chance to turn it around this season. So, first question, Pepe, Ramondre or Josh Jacobs full PPR? Who you got?
I think you have to go with Josh Jacobs. The fact that he's starting to be targeted in that offense, and the Raiders starting to roll since they've done that, I think that continues. I think Jacobs is a top 12 play this week. I do like Ramondre, though. I think, there's going to be a heavy dose of both of those backs today, and I like Ramondre's ability to catch the football. So I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs, but I think if you can flex Ramondre, that's not a bad play either. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Josh Jacobs as well. I am confident that Ramondre gets like 12 to 15 touches, potentially more, but I also see Damian Harris getting half that. Like, I could see these running backs getting 35, 40 touches combined.
Agree.
But Josh Jacobs, I think, is at least going to get 20 touches today. And I just think that consistency with him easily leading that backfield, like there's really nobody else involved outside of him. So I'll stick with the volume that I think Josh Jacobs gets.
Yeah, and I think that's a high scoring game too. So I think they're going to have to go foot to the gas against the Chiefs on Monday. So
yeah, I agree. Hey boys, it's me, Yo Tiger. Okay, so I have a flex open. Do I put in, I'm assuming, Brandon Cooks, Jeff Wilson Jr., or Rashad Penny? He went off last week. Andrews, Montgomery, or OP Amari Cooper. So you have one flex spot, and you got Cooks.
All
Wilson,
these guys
Penny,
for one spot?
Andrews, Montgomery, Amari Cooper. Jeepers. This Mark Andrews?
I think I'm going Mark Andrews if it's Mark Andrews.
I think I will too. I will also go Mark Andrews here. I like Brandon Cooks, but I'm not going Rashad Penny. He's going against the Saints defense. I'm definitely not going David Montgomery because I'm not sure his usage will be a full workload anyway. Amari Cooper is just too inconsistent, where Andrews is basically a wide receiver playing tight end, at least numbers wise. So I'll go Mark Andrews as well.
This must be a pretty damn good team if this is your one choice for flex.
I mean, if this is Mark Andrews, he has to have Travis Kelce at tight end. There's no way that he has anybody else. Unless there's no tight end. And he's just like, so that'd be the only way that I can imagine you don't have Mark Andrews in your tight end spot. So, yeah, I think we'll both go Mark Andrews here. That's hard. That's a flip a coin for some of those people, though.
Those are some pretty darn good flex options.
I'm worried about Lamar playing trash again like last week. I'm not really that worried about it. I mean, it's not like he went against some terrible defense. I mean, he went against the best defense against the quarterback so far in fantasy this year. And usually Lamar doesn't have very many bad weeks throughout the year. So
I'm not worried about him at all. He had an unfortunate pick in the end zone that flipped his game around. If he hits that receiver and it's a touchdown pass, it's a totally different story. Plus his floor with his legs every week, I'm taking that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not worried about Lamar really at all, ever. David Carr against Kansas City or Trevor Lawrence versus Houston? Man, Kansas City, aren't they like the worst against the quarterback this year so far?
I think so. And I think and Houston's the worst against the running back. So I could see Jacksonville running all over Houston in this one, but I also see T-Law throwing for 250 and 2 or something as well. And Carr, it's kind of a hodgepodge in Arrowhead in his career. So this one's tough for me. I'll probably go with Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not going to argue anyone who goes the other side. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll probably just lean David Carr. It is a divisional game. I feel like that they have to. They just got to win, so they're 1-3. They have to go out there and play well if they want to compete in this division. So
that's Derek Carr, right? Not David Carr.
Yeah, I'm assuming Derek Carr.
Because if it's David Carr, I'm definitely starting Lawrence.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Derek Carr for sure. I'm gonna go with Derek Carr, but it's really close for me as well.
Yeah, I could go either way.
I think they have to play well today, and I think that he's gonna step up and do that. Fame Tiger did say he did have Kelce. I'd be looking to trade Andrews if you're still in
10-seed league. Good for you, man. Yeah. You're killing in that league. I'd love to see that lineup.
Sheesh. Montgomery or Kareem Hunt in standard scoring? This is rather easily Kareem Hunt for me.
I think so, just based on we don't know what level of health Monty is at, and Herbert can play, so he's going to have a role. Even with it being standard scoring, I think Kareem Hunt catches a few passes and gives you some chunk yards. So
yeah, who are the Browns playing today? Do you know?
They're hosting the Chargers.
That's right. Okay. So they might be in situations where they got to throw the ball, and it seems like Kareem Hunt's in there in those situations. So.
Yeah, I think any way you slice that, it's Hunt rather straightforward for me.
It's a good one. Pepe asks, Ertz or Goddard?
Oof. I have Goddard ranked higher, but again, this is one of those ones that I have no problem either way. I like Ertz and they're facing each other, right? So there's sort of that revenge narrative, and Arizona's going to have to throw a ton, I think, because I think the Eagles will score rather easily on that Arizona defense. So I'll go with Goddard, but again, I have no problem with either one. It's a tough decision.
Yeah, it's rough. I'd flip a coin, but I'm going to lean Goddard as well. They like to do those little quick screens to him a lot. Mm-hmm. I like Goddard long term because I think Ertz's value gets hurt just a little bit when D-Hop comes back. Because I realistically think D-Hop would eat into the targets that Hollywood's getting, but then Hollywood's now going to get more of that second look where Ertz is getting that second look kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I'll go Goddard. I'll go Goddard here, and if I had both, I'd be looking to trade Ertz before D-Hop comes back because I think his numbers will take a little bit of a hit, especially you got a good replacement like that.
I think that's a great call, especially in the red zone. I think his numbers go down.
Yeah, for sure. Would you start Tyler Boyd over Allen Robinson? I think you have to right
I
now.
gotta start Tyler Boyd at this point. I as much as it pains me every week, until Allen Robinson gets going, the Giants are razzle dazzling like crazy right now. That's a hell of a touchdown. I want Allen Robinson to be good, and I want him to be a thing, and he should be, but he's just not. So I like Tyler Boyd here. Do you see that touchdown?
That was a double reverse to Daniel Bellinger.
Out of the Wildcat too, I think.
No, it snapped to.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Daniel Jones. Yeah, what a. I was like, oh cool, Saquon's got it. No, never mind.
I was contemplating. I have Kyle Pitts in a bunch of spots, and Bellinger's on my waiver wire, and I was contemplating picking him up and throwing him in, and now I kind of hate myself for not doing it. So easy to say now.
Yeah, that does blow. Well, I kind of like Daniel Bellinger. He gets utilized in some unique ways.
He's not bad for a rookie tight end for sure.
But I'm gonna agree with Tyler Boyd. I don't. That offense as a whole looks bad, and I think it starts with the offensive line. Once they start getting things put together, I think Allen Robinson benefits from that. But until that happens, I'm gonna start Tyler Boyd. It's kind of the same thing for like Cam Akers for me. Even though I feel a little bit more comfortable starting Cam Akers because he's getting majority of the touches right now. But again, the offense as a whole is not performing well. And the O-line. And I know they got some beat-up people there. Once they get started, I think that those guys directly will benefit from it because Cooper Kupp's not seeing any downgrade in production. Like, he's always going to be dominant. So, they got to have some guys step up if they want to make playoff runs and stuff like that. So, I'd be looking for Allen Robinson later in the season.
I think you're right. They just don't have time for the plays to develop, and that's where Robinson can benefit, right? So, I think so.
Right. This is a pick 2 PPR, 0.25 per carry. Najee.
Pons, my man, Pons.
Najee, Ramondre, Dobbins, and Wilson Jr.
0.25 per carry. I don't play in any leagues like this, so this is interesting.
I have one that's 0.5 per carry.
That's significant.
Yeah, I know. The running backs are so overpowered in it. That's why I've got Saquon in it. So you can get 10 touches, and that's 5 points.
So for me, right off the hop, as crazy as it sounds, I'm dropping Najee out of this equation. I don't want anything to do with that offense right now. This is tough. The other three, I could go any way possible. I think I'm going to go Dobbins and Wilson, just based on what I feel is a little bit more consistent workload. But Ramondre could touch the ball a ton today. But I think Dobbins is rounding into form. He looked a little bit better last week, and Wilson is their primary back and gets almost all their carries. So I'm going to go with Wilson and Dobbins. How about yourself?
Yeah, I look at this like since I'm in a league that's similar to this, it's a little bit easier for me. Like Najee right now has a horrible matchup this week, so your points are probably only going to come off carries unless he finds a way into the end zone.
Right.
It's just too risky we don't know what Kenny Pickett's going to do to that offense. So he's out for me. Then it becomes, okay, I like Ramondre, but he is in a split backfield. So these other two guys are probably going to get close to 15 to 20 touches. And that's like what I expect them to get, where that's probably Ramondre's max that he gets. So it's easily Dobbins and Wilson for me here as well, because Wilson had, I think, 18 carries the last 2 weeks. So there's almost 4 points for you right off the bat, like 3-point-something points. And then
it's Wilson and Debo are the only two carrying the ball out of that backfield. Like they're not using any the Mason or Tevin Coleman or any of the other stuff that they have there.
Yeah, and I like how they do those like little pitch plays. Like it's not like a handoff. It's a pitch backwards. Like I like that. It works for him.
Gives him a little space, right? Totally.
Yeah. I think that they're just going to keep utilizing that style of run. So I will go with Dobbins and Wilson as well. Pick either two wide receivers or one running back and one receiver. Okay. Chase Edmonds, Tyler Lockett, Ramondre Stevenson. So, okay, pick two out of those three, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think he meant to put another wide receiver in there and put Edmonds in twice.
I was looking for it. I wouldn't even know who. Maybe Claypool, and he put Edmonds again or something. I'm not sure.
Could have been, yeah.
It wouldn't change my answer.
Lockett's in for me for sure. And I'll take Ramondre over Chase Edmonds. I don't know what to expect out of Chase Edmonds. Teddy Bridgewater playing for Miami, I don't think it's too much of a downgrade for their backfield. In fact, it might be a little bit of a lift for their backfield. They play the Jets, which is not the worst matchup in the world, but I like what I think Ramondre is going to do today, and I definitely like Tyler Lockett over both of them. So that's how I'm going.
Yeah, it's easily Lockett and Ramondre for me. The backfield is kind of the backfield in Miami is panning out to exactly how I thought it was going to be. Where Chase Edmonds comes in and he gets his touches as a running back, but he's mostly just used as a receiver out of the backfield. And Raheem Mostert is the guy running the ball. Like he had 15 rushes this past week, and I think like 12 touched out. I don't know about touch. He out rushed into like he had more rushing attempts than Chase Edmonds 2 weeks in a row. I expect to see that same thing moving forward because I think that Chase Edmonds is not a very good running back out of the backfield, and I think Raheem Mostert is. So I'll go with those two as well. Kevin Pons said, "What's up?" Back to you.
Love my man Pons.
Stevenson had 16 and 18 touches last 2 weeks against Detroit. Now I knew that. I think Damian Harris had the same amount, if not more, as well. Like they just utilize the running backs.
I think it's interesting because, and you would know this way better than I would because the amount you watch the Patriots, but it seems to me in games where I expect the Patriots to be chasing, I want Stevenson. I want Ramondre over Damian Harris, but I think it's almost cut down the middle anyway. However, from what I've seen at least.
Yeah, the problem with the Patriots is like when you want a guy to get value like that is it seems like they're never down many scores. Like
true, because of what you said earlier about Belichick, right?
They're always like able to keep games somewhat close where the run game's still alive because they don't play well from behind. Like they just don't. And it seems like when they do play well from behind, at least with Max so far in his young career, that's when he tries to push the ball down the field and throw it. It just makes bad decisions and throws it into double or triple coverage. But I'd rather him make those mistakes early with this team rather than later in his career. So I'm not mad about it. But
totally cool.
Ramondre is definitely a better back out of the backfield. Like it's not even close. But it's just how will they be chasing? I don't know. It's like they can be the team that beats anybody but gets beat by anybody. Kevin said, "Thank you." No, thank you.
Always,
Same
brother.
to you, Regina. Same to you, Regina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hit the like and subscribe notification bell. We go live throughout the week every day. I think Monday through Thursday or Monday through Wednesday. And then we're live every Sunday morning. Amari Cooper is instead of Edmonds. Okay, so Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Chase Edmonds, Ramondre Stevenson. Does that change anything for you? I'm putting Amari Cooper in and Tyler Lockett, I think.
So am I. I'm going to go with the two wide receivers. And I know, like you alluded to earlier, Amari is inconsistent, but I think he's going to have a good day today as well. I just saw that Julio Jones is going to be inactive today.
Yeah, I just saw that as well. I was about to say that. You got sleeper on?
I don't know what it is. I guess it was sleeper.
Yeah.
I got 400 different things that notify me. So
this is a good one. Johnny. Just Johnny. I'm going to try and pronounce the last name. Olave or Curtis Samuel?
I'm a team Olave all day. I absolutely. Another player you've converted me to. I absolutely love this guy. You know, Michael Thomas is out again. Seattle gives up tons of yards to their pass catching opponents. So I think Olave has a real nice day today, and I like to see him get in the end zone.
Yeah, and he was my second favorite wide receiver out of the class. And you put me on to Drake London earlier in the offseason too. So because I like Trey Burks, and then I watched enough of Trey Burks. I'm like, okay, I think he might be like more of a 3 or 4 for me because I like Olave a lot because of his route running. So it's Olave for me as well. Even though both teams, they both have a good matchups this week. I think Curtis Samuel is against Tennessee.
Yeah,
I believe. But I just trust. I don't really trust either quarterback more. I just trust the usage and volume that Olave's been getting over Samuel.
I agree.
PPR, choose 2. DK, Waddle, or Kirk. This is not easy.
Wow. I think Kirk is 1 for sure, which is weird that one jumps out to me, but it does. And then I'm waffling between the other two, but I'll stick with Jalen Waddle. I could see Teddy getting the ball out in a hurry and Waddle doing something with it in his hands. So hard to sit DK, but that's what I'd have to do here.
My concern is last week when Teddy had to throw the ball, it was going a lot to Hill.
Yeah.
Like if Tua was playing, it would be Waddle number one for me. But now that Tua is not playing,
I just wonder how healthy Jalen Waddle was last week. He looked pretty limited with his hamstring, and I give him an extra week. You're not wrong, though. It was all Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and they're both kind of banged up going into this week, but expected to play. I'll go with Kirk. I'll go with Kirk and Waddle as well.
Lattimore on Deke. Does Lattimore?
Yeah.
Who the hell? That's part of it for me too.
Yeah, I would guess the Saints defense looks to try and neutralize DK Metcalf. I feel like if you do that, you have a way better chance of winning that game, which they should win anyway. Ooh, trade question. Should I trade London and Hunt for Mike Williams and Ramondre Stevenson? I'm assuming this has got to be a redraft question.
Yeah,
there's no way. So. If this is Dynasty, there's no way in hell. If it is redraft,
that's a pretty fair trade.
Yeah, if it's redraft, I think I would probably lean the Mike Williams side in redraft.
Me too. I am too, just because Atlanta doesn't give London enough targets, right? I think Hunt and Ramondre are pretty straightforwardly. They're both kind of that back end RB2, high end RB3. Yeah. I think they're both pretty interchangeable. And Mike Williams has higher touchdown upside and higher target upside. So I like the Williams side. It's close though.
Yeah. He gets utilized very well when Keenan Allen's not in, and he's not in this week. So I definitely like him this week.
Totally agree.
Choose one, Najee or Herbert. I'm assuming this has got to be Khalil Herbert.
I got to go Najee here, just based on
that. This also could depend on if David Montgomery does get said he's not playing. I know there's been reports that he is, and then there's been like the coach didn't even know if he was playing or not when he was interviewed or after a practice was like, I think he's doubtful, and he's like, oh wait, no, he's questionable. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise you. Did you see that? He was like, I think he's doubtful. And he started shuffling some papers like, oh, no, he's questionable.
That's a little bit of a red flag for me if I'm a Bears fan, but that's okay.
Yeah. And, Thomas had a good point earlier. And he said, I think Najee could be a safety blanket for Pickett and get tons of catches. But the thing is, when I look at these young quarterbacks, yeah, that could be true. But it also could be where Kenny Pickett, instead of looking to dump off, looks to run.
I've seen reports where they want him to sling it, where they want him to go downfield because the weakness of that Buffalo defense, if there is one, is the secondary. So,
they lost everybody. Well, they lost their best safety. So,
yeah. So we'll see. But
when given the options we answered before, that's when I feel okay benching him. But right here, if Dave Montgomery's active, it's just too much. It's just too much confusion, cloudiness in that Bears backfield where I would much rather feel comfortable starting Najee in this situation. Yeah,
Najee if Montgomery starts and Herbert if Montgomery doesn't play.
Mm-hmm. Johnny said earlier with Olave and Samuel that they have Amon-Ra. If Amon-Ra's playing, I'm playing him.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm still sitting Samuel. I'm going to go with Olave and Amon-Ra if it's a 2 of 3 thing. That's what I'm doing.
But if it's 1 of 3, it's Amon-Ra, then Olave, and then
I'm not sitting Amon-Ra. I'm so wrong on him, and I admit that, and I'm never sitting him ever again.
I liked Amon-Ra, but I did not expect him to do this well. I definitely couldn't. I don't think anybody did. I mean, who could have expected this?
And we didn't expect their quarterback to play the way he's playing either.
Yeah, Jared Goff looks pretty good. But, Jared Goff's always been like that. Like, he's like a gunslinger, but he also throws picks kind of deal. But, I mean, geez, if you give him a good defense, like, that team could be pretty scary.
Well, look what Jared Goff did last week without Amon-Ra, without DJ Shark. Like, I don't know who the hell he was throwing the ball to. Josh Reynolds, I guess, was his primary guy. Yeah, that's right. He had 100 yards. He went nuts. Yeah, he went played nuts. Against him enough. I shouldn't have forgot that.
Jamal Williams or James Robinson, I'm leaning Rob, but this one's tough. This one's a little easier for me. It's James Robinson. I think the Patriots, if I remember correctly, I read somewhere that they have allowed no touchdowns to running backs. Running backs.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Rushing. They haven't allowed rushing touchdowns, at least I think a rushing touchdown.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, their run defense has gotten significantly better. It's James Robinson for me. I think they're against Houston, who you mentioned earlier. Run defense is their weakness.
Yeah, it's the worst in the league. They're giving up the most points to the running back. I'm taking James Robinson anyway. I think he bounces back in a big way this week.
Glock guy said, "Are you guys confident about Higgins is playing?"
He's supposed to go, so I think so.
Yeah, and if he's going, that secondary is also beat up. Let me look it up real quick on Twitter. Usually
they play Baltimore tonight, right?
Yes, Baltimore. Should be a fun game to watch.
So he's supposed to go, but I can get it. I get it if you're looking at a start-sit situation. It's a Sunday night game. If you have a for sure safer option, perhaps, but I'd have a hard time not going with T. Higgins in this one.
Yeah, Schefter tweeted 10 hours ago that he's expected to play. So
yeah, Schefter's usually bang on.
Yeah, I'm confident that he's playing if Schefter tweeted it. Renfro, Juju, or Najee? Renfro's out of these guys for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's who I'm going with.
Really?
Yeah.
I just don't like his usage anymore.
I don't know. I think he's going to have to be used against Kansas City, and I don't really love their secondary. Juju popped up on the injury report yesterday. He's limited with knee and ankle and maybe talent. I don't know. And Najee, I just don't like the situation. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Renfro here.
I'll go with Najee. I'll go with the guy I'm confident gets the most touches. It is a tough defensive matchup, but I'll just hope and pray that he does get a couple of dump offs and maybe salvages his fantasy week with 5 catches for 40 yards along with whatever rushing stats he gets.
I don't think you're wrong. Plus, there could be a ton of garbage for him later in that game too.
Hopefully. I mean, that's what he kind of feeded off of last year. Was a lot of that garbage. I'm sure these were emojis.
Would you take Renfro over Juju if that was the choice?
I don't like that one either. I'd probably lean Juju a little bit there too, but that one's closer.
Cool.
I almost could flip a coin on those two.
I like how we're different there. That's good.
Yeah. Well, you're a big Renfro guy. I do know that.
I always have been, so I don't know why. Maybe it's my Clemson fandom. I don't know.
Said, should I start Brandon Cooks today, but then followed it up immediately after with DK, Kirk, or Cooks? Cooks would be, I think, behind both of these guys for me.
Yeah, he's behind Kirk for sure. I think he's close to DK, but he is behind DK, so I would go with DK and Kirk.
Yeah, I would go Kirk, DK, Cooks here as well.
Geno Smith's playing so well, and DK's such a big body. I think he can handle that more if he has to. So, like, he's going to contested catches. He should be okay. So, we'll see.
I like DK most weeks now.
Me too.
Because he's on the uprise, but the matchup today, like Lattimore is extremely underrated. He hinders whoever he's guarding's number. There is a very good chance today that DK Metcalf and Marcus Lattimore get in a fight and both get thrown out before halftime.
But I thought he only fights Mike Evans.
No, dude, he fights everybody. And DK Metcalf is just like him, like where he just talks trash all game. So it's just like they're just gonna butt heads the whole game.
I'm never gonna fight anybody in the NFL, but DK Metcalf would be close to the last guy I would ever pick a fight with. That guy is ripped.
Yeah, he's huge.
Like I'm scared just watching him on TV.
Amon-Ra's a game time decision, but if he's playing, I'm putting him in. So I'm gonna
agree.
I'm gonna pay attention because if he's playing, he's gonna be involved. They're not gonna. I doubt they're gonna like put him in and then just like barely use him. It wouldn't make much sense for them to do that.
It makes no sense because they're on bye next week. So unless he's good to go, you sit him down. So I think he's playing.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Jeff Fields always. Look at this grammar is just so perfect in here. Full
awesome.
PPR flex. Jamal Williams versus New England, Drake London versus Tampa Bay, or Amari Cooper versus the Chargers. I'm leaning Jamal Williams, but the Patriots are great against the run. Yep, they are great against the run. Man, I think I'm going to chalk this up to floor and ceiling here. Drake London, I'm going to probably steer clear of him against Tampa Bay this week. I could see Marcus Mariota barely getting 150 passing yards, and I don't know who that would go to. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper for my ceiling play, and then Jamal Williams if I need a nice safe floor, because I think Jamal Williams gets a decent amount of touches, got a nice maybe floor of like 8 to 10 points with still a decent ceiling as well, because it seems like he finds the end zone. He's very efficient when he does play. But Amari Cooper has that boom potential of getting you 30 plus and winning your fantasy week. So look at your matchup. If you feel like you're a little bit behind, put in Amari Cooper. If you feel like your team matches up well against who you're playing and you need somebody to at least get you some points on the board, that's not potentially zero like Cooper could get, throw in Jamal Williams.
I'm definitely off of Drake London, regardless of how much I like him this week. Without Kyle Pitts, I think Tampa Bay just blankets him and takes him away and begs the Falcons to try to beat him with Zacchaeus or somebody like that. I don't see that happening. I'm going to lean Amari Cooper here just because I think he's going to have a decent game. My only concern is the Chargers pass rush with Mack and Bosa, and Jacoby Brissett gets happy feet and kind of throws some ugly passes, but the Browns got a good offensive line too. So I think he's going to be able to get it to Cooper in space a couple of times, and that'll be enough because I don't think Jamal's going to have one of his better games. I don't mind him. I'm not going to fight you if you go with him here, but I would lean Amari Cooper, and you're probably right. The floor is probably Williams, but I'm going to go for the ceiling.
Yeah, I can't blame me. I'd probably go for the ceiling too. I always like to try and score the most points.
I like points. I don't get enough of them, but I like them.
Yeah. PPR, choose one at quarterback. Kyler Murray or Jared Goff?
Crazy, hey?
Yeah.
Who are the Cardinals playing? Eagles.
The Eagles.
Goff plays.
Both really don't have great matchups.
Who's Detroit play?
New England.
Right. Should have known that. We've been talking about it all morning. I got to go with Kyler. As much as I think the Eagles have a great defense, I just can't set Kyler Murray for Jared Goff. And I know that might not be right, but I can't. So that's what I'm doing.
It's just like, I feel like this is that game where Kyler Murray starts to run the ball so they can win. You know what I mean? Like,
he has to, doesn't he?
Last undefeated team in the league. You got to go out there and you want it. Like, I feel like there's just so much incentive to take that, give him that first loss. I'll go Kyler Murray as well. I really don't like it. Neither really has a great matchup. Like, the Patriots are pretty decent against the pass game. Lamar obviously tore him up, but I feel like they were trying to focus on stopping Lamar's running game, and he just blew him up in the pass game. Where I think with Goff, they're not worried about that, where they could try and sit back and put a bunch of guys in coverage, and they're not too worried about the run game because Swift is not there, and their front four are really good. So
to your point, I think the Patriots just slow this game down to the point where they limit Goff's opportunities. So
I think they dominate. I think they dominate time of possession today.
Probably.
For sure. So I'll go Kyler Murray as well. Good morning. Pick 3. 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, and 1 flex. Evans, Godwin, James Robinson, Pierce, London, Dalvin Cook.
Wow.
Jeepers creepers.
Wide receiver. So do you want Evans, Godwin, or London? I don't think we want London. Evans? Me too. Yeah. Running back, we've got James Robinson, Dameon Pierce, and Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook for me.
I think so too. And now we're flexing out of this awesome piece. I'm going to flex James Robinson.
I think I'm going to flex Chris Godwin.
I like it.
I just think that the Buccaneers could be putting up like 35 points pretty easily today, and I think he gets some of it. His floor is pretty safe as well, along with the ceiling. Like, I like James Robinson as well. It's hard for me on them too, but I'll go Evans, Godwin, and Dalvin Cook. What a great problem to have.
I got a lot of Evans, Godwin, Brady DFS stacks, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did one of the ones like the $3 to win 3,000, and I put in a Pickett and Pickens stack. And
I
countered it with Stephon Diggs. We'll see.
Diggs is a pretty nice bring back. I like that.
Yeah. Full PPR at flex. Should I play Juju, Corey Davis, or Josh Reynolds?
Well, if Amon-Ra doesn't play, it's Josh Reynolds for me. And if he does, I think it might still be.
Man,
very nervous about Juju, although it's probably the right answer. Corey Davis is touchdown or bust for me. Miami's secondary. Howard will be out. It's tougher than I thought.
Corey Davis has been pretty consistent the last 2 weeks.
He has,
too.
and despite who the quarterbacks are, and Zach Wilson has liked him. Oof. Reynolds is. What do the Patriots take away today? The run?
I don't know. I don't know who they take away. I think if Amon-Ra plays, they take away him. If he doesn't play, they imagine they take away Hawkinson.
Yeah. Juju should. Tampa Bay plays a lot of cover 3, so Juju should be better in that. He stinks against man. Ugh.
Kansas City plays the Raiders.
Sorry, I'm a week behind.
Yep. Sorry.
I don't know what the hell the Raiders are playing then. I'll go Corey Davis, and I don't feel very confident about that, but that's what I'm going to do.
I think I'll go Corey Davis too, but I will agree that if Amon-Ra is a game time decision, he's inactive. I will throw in. I'll throw in Josh Reynolds and be pretty happy with it. I would almost prefer that. Like if I had this option,
I think so. I think so.
One more week. PPR. Choose 2 wide receiver, London, Cooper, or Juju. So I think we could take Cooper and put him in there. So it's between London and Juju.
I'll take Juju over London this week. I just am concerned that he gets totally taken away.
Yeah, I really think that game's gonna be ugly, like ugly. Tom Brady might be he might go. What does Skip Bayless call him, or somebody's called him Psycho Tom, where he just starts going crazy?
Oh yeah,
yeah, he says something like that.
And there's a lot of people are talking a lot of trash about Tom in the news this week too, so he might want to shut people up.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. People are getting so involved in his personal life, but I guess people got nothing better to do.
It's disgusting in my opinion, but whatever.
Yeah, Antonio Brown is like probably one of the most garbage human beings on the earth at this point, in my opinion. So,
agree 1,000%.
Our fearless leader is back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Butts in the house. How you doing, brother?
Oh, good. My body said no this morning.
That's okay.
No problem.
Wait till you get to be my age. Your body says no every morning. You just got to figure it out.
All right.
Well, we just answered this. Do you agree? We both had Cooper and Juju.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Can you go back to the Corey Davis question, Bryce? I want him to answer that one. The one right above. Yeah.
I think Corey Davis is the safe play. Josh Reynolds could have another week like last week.
What did he put up?
Do we have news on Amon-Ra?
Game time. So that's where we were at. We both went Corey Davis, but we said if Amon-Ra is out, then we'd pivot to Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
I think that's where I would be too. I think Josh Reynolds might give you some more upside. I think Detroit's going to have to. I mean, I think both teams are going to have to throw a lot, but with Amon-Ra out, Swift already out, is Shark out too?
He is.
Yeah. So I think he has a chance for a lot more work just because it's basically him and Hawkinson. If those guys are out, I think they're both going to get just a lot of work like they did last week, right? Reynolds scored 22 points last week or something in PPR.
Yep.
But
I've always liked him, but he just always needs the opportunity, right?
Yeah. So if one of those guys are in, then I go to Corey Davis. If both Shark and Amon-Ra are out, then I go Reynolds.
This question just got answered for this guy. Logan Thomas is out today.
I was going to say he's highly questionable. So
yeah,
he's out following a pregame test.
Yeah, his hamstring or something is acting up. So, and Juwan Johnson's not bad against Seattle. They're awful against the tight end. Every week they've been shredded by that position. So, we'll see what You know, and Jawan Johnson seems to be the guy that's getting the snaps and the targets, and Taysom Hill is coming in every once in a while. So I think you're okay there.
Have you guys had this up at all yet?
The one? No, we did not. We were kind of like waiting on you, and then we're like, I'm like,
Well,
I know he's had a lot going on.
Hey man, I just show up and
I knew you had a lot going on, so I was like, let's just run it, and we'll tell him he can just.
Well, no. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I was getting all the stuff in that Sully had dropped in our chat for us, so I had it ready and just. Somebody said no.
I didn't even check it. I forgot about it completely, to be honest.
So you said Logan Thomas is out, so I'll add him to this.
Mm-hmm. Who is?
Come on, Giants, let's go.
Who is droppable full PPR? Need to make room for Mariota, James Cook. Need to make room for Mariota, James Cook, or Saints. Bench Josh Allen. Oh, okay. Okay, so who's he dropping for Mariota, James Cook, or Saints? His bench has Josh Allen, Kenny Pickett, James Robinson, Dalvin Cook. I guess I'm confused on this question.
I am too, and I think my answer would be
he's making room for one of these.
Kicker.
Sorry, what's happening?
He needs to make room for a kicker, and he's wondering who to drop: Mariota, James Cook, or the Saints.
I'm dropping James Cook.
I'm dropping James Cook as well.
Yeah, you were right about him, Rick, by the way.
It's still early.
I was wrong.
I'll give him another.
It's too early to say right or wrong, I think, on him.
That's fair.
I just think Devin Singletary is better than people give him credit for.
Sure proving to be, yeah.
Start Dameon Pierce, Travis Etienne at the flex.
It's got to be Pierce right now, right? Like you can't start
20 touches a week
over Pierce. Yeah. You gotta go Pierce on this one.
I think Pierce is at 100% of the Texans rushing attempts in the last 2 straight weeks. So I'm going to go with him, but I do have a sneaking feeling that this is a bit of an ETN week, but I'm not starting him over Pierce.
I'm just glad I stay clear of ETN in every single league I was in.
I wanted him everywhere and I got him nowhere, and I'm okay with that right now.
Isn't that nice when that works out? Because every time I like somebody and I get him everywhere, it turns out like that. And then I'm like, oh, wish I would have hedged a little bit.
Every draft, I was like, oh, damn it. And now I'm like, whatever.
49ers defense.
They're good.
That went to the one up there with the drop for a kicker, but I don't know if it's in his bench or if that's.
Oh, it might be. He's got 2 defenses.
If you have the Saints,
I'm dropping the Saints D then. Then I'm dropping the Saints D and holding on to James Cook.
Yeah. But I would drop James Cook. I would look for somebody else to replace James Cook.
Agree.
Dude, that's no joke, man. I don't know if you guys already talked about it, not to beat a dead horse, but that game was just one of the worst games ever.
One of the good things about having to work at 4 a.m. is I watched the first quarter of that and knew that game was going to be trash. And I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. And then I woke up to all the stuff, and I'm like,
just see myself out.
First game in my life I've ever fallen asleep during an overtime in the NFL.
Yeah, we always say kickers aren't real. As a joke in fantasy football, but kickers were the only players that were real in that Thursday night game.
I get trolled every week by a league. I'm trying to get rid of kickers by people every single week. And of course, I'm undefeated in that league, and I'm just like, guys, quit talking trash when you're building the leaderboards. Quit.
Hey, we don't have to start a kicker in SFB, do we?
No, but you can start 5 if you want.
Yeah, my kicker's out, and I didn't get anybody on waivers, so
I sacked Greg Joseph last week and watched him kick 5 field goals.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I'm trying to go to 10-0 this weekend, man. Only 80 teams.
Good on you, man. I'm my traditional Sully self in fishbowl. I'm terrible.
They say you drafted Dak and Russell Wilson first 2 picks.
Sure did.
That's rough. That's rough.
I didn't get invited, so it's all right. Next year,
you'll be in there next year.
That's what I told him.
Tyler Boyd or Josh Palmer? We were wrong on Josh Palmer last week, but
Yeah.
I still think with Keenan Allen out, you got to go Josh Palmer. I mean, Tyler Boyd's got the upside for a 20-point week any week, right? In that Bengals offense.
Right.
The 20-point weeks are going to be a little more, inconsistent. I think Joshua Palmer probably has a better chance to hit that. I do think Boyd's relatively safe, right? He's going to get you normally at least 8 points. He's not going to typically give you a complete dud. But I think I go with Palmer because I think he's got a solid floor, and then he's got the 20-point upside that's probably just a little bit better than Tyler Boyd's percentage of landing those.
I'm going to go the opposite way. T. Higgins and Hayden Hurst are both questionable to play. I think they both do play. The Ravens are giving up points to pass catchers like crazy. I think that game's pretty back and forth. So I think there's going to be more points in the game tonight. So I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. I think he's in for a decent stat line.
I think it's a Jamar Chase week finally, like we saw many times last year. So I'm going to go with Josh Palmer as well. I think we're going to see a big game from Chase this week. I think he and Higgins dominate the targets tonight. Thank you for helping, gents. No, thank you for joining in. And then, again, hit the like and subscribe button, the notification bell. We're live 4 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, and then every Sunday morning for your start sit questions.
And in the off season,
yeah,
we're only up there Tuesday and Wednesday during.
Monday's not anymore. Okay, that's right.
But there's videos dropping like crazy, so yeah, I would subscribe just for that.
We're dropping lots of stuff.
Morning, gents. Full PPR start to Olave, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Smith, Travis Etienne. Sully.
I
am starting both receivers. Rick?
Yeah, Olave is the easy one. And then I go probably Kareem Hunt if I need a floor and Devonta Smith if I need ceiling.
I'm going Olave and Devontae Smith as well. I'm on the same path as you there, Sully. Last week I took Smith out of my lineups because that weather we heard about late. Glad I did because
I did not.
That weather is bad for wide receivers. Oh yeah,
yeah. I didn't really have any options, so it's easy for me.
Well, wait, wasn't that the game that he threw for 300 yards, or was that the week?
No, it's a week before.
Now
week before Smith went crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that.
No, last week he didn't have a great week last week. Like Jalen Hurts didn't. I think he had like 18 or 20 fantasy points, or something like that. Yeah, he didn't do anything crazy. Would you guys drop Dak for a QB like Goff or Geno? My every week QB is Hurts, so I need a backup QB for Philly's bye week.
Well, I just pulled up their schedule, so where is their bye week?
Dallas?
Okay, so Eagles bye week is next week. Right? So he does need a quarterback. Because I was going to say, if it was like week 12, then I would hold off and I would just drop it. You could just drop Dak if you didn't want to hold him. But
Dak not going to be back next week?
It's questionable. They say he's got a long way to go still.
Really? Then yeah, I would drop. Because you're never going to put in.
If you happen to be holding two defenses or two tight ends and you can drop one of them instead of Dak, then but the thing is if you have Dak and you have Hurts, then you probably have a weekly headache too. So you really only need to keep Hurts for fantasy purposes.
I'm not going to do anything through my waiver run, and I'm going to drag my feet as long as I possibly can to see where Dak is, and then I'll do an ad drop for the best quarterback that I think is a streamer for that week. And obviously I don't know what your record is, but it's only 1 week. So I wouldn't upset my entire roster to try to win a week necessarily. But yeah, so Hurts is on bye. I'm going to drag my feet right up to the final minute to see if Dak is good to go. And if he's not, I'll pick up whoever I think is the best.
That's fair. Which defense do I start? Eagles, Jags, or the Vikings? I mean, can you not start any defense over the Eagles at this point, the way they've been playing against everybody? And they get sacks and receptions.
I think the Eagles are the start here. I think they put on pressure, they turn the ball over, and they get sacks, and that's what gets you your points. That's what leads to, pick sixes or fumble recoveries for touchdowns. I think that's where I go. After that, I probably go Vikings, because we know that the Bears are going to give up sacks and whatnot. But I do think the Eagles here, they're going to put pressure on everybody. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, is it Justin Fields the second most sacked quarterback in the league right now? Like tied for second?
Who's the first, Burrow?
He has the highest percentage.
I think so.
I know that, because obviously they don't drop back as much as every other team. They have less pass attempts than some teams have had in one game. I think Flacco had more pass attempts in week 1 than the Bears have in the season.
That's bad.
But yeah, that's the problem with the Bears, right? You don't know. They could literally drop back 14 times today. And that only gives the Vikings their defense a little bit of opportunity to score fantasy points. So that's a problem, right? If they were doing what the Bengals were doing Burrow's rookie year, where he was dropping back 50 times a game and getting sacked a ton,
right,
then you could look at the Vikings defense and lock them in. But since they're protecting Justin in the sense of not having him drop back 30, 35 times a game, that makes it a little bit tough, because even though they can get home a high percentage of time, it just doesn't end up being a real high number because of that. So, yeah, Bears would be a great offense to pick on if they threw more. But since they're running the ball a lot more than they're throwing, it's hard to pick on them from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, it's Eagles for me pretty easily here.
Speaking of the Bears, Cam Akers or Khalil Herbert? And if David Montgomery plays today, does it change your answer at all, Rick?
Yeah, it's absolutely. If David Montgomery plays today, then you're not starting Khalil Herbert. He's just not getting enough work when Montgomery is in there. And while he had an opportunity to kind of dig in and get a bigger piece of that pie, the performance versus the Giants last week probably, tempers those expectations when David Montgomery is on the field. So I'm going Cam Akers. They do have somewhat of a split over there, but the Rams offense is just better, even if it's not, as good as we had expected than what the Bears offense is right now, because there's not a lot of touchdown upside for Khalil Herbert with Montgomery healthy and the offense the way it is at this moment.
Yeah. I agree. I'm going to go Cam Akers. The split is now getting wider and wider. Cam Akers gets way more touches than Darrell Henderson now. So
did he last week?
Yeah, I think he had 15 touches last week.
I can look that up real quick,
because he looked terrible again last week.
I mean, the offensive line's horrendous. They're just bad.
For sure.
It's
neither one of them have a good offensive line, right?
No, yeah. I mean, it's not like either of them are playing well. It's he's getting touched right at the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's he can't even get to the second level ever. So I don't know. That offense is stagnant right now, but I would expect them to turn it around. They got the coach, the playmakers to do so. So volume.
Darrell Henderson had 7 carries for 27 yards, so he didn't light the world on fire either. And then Cam Akers had 8 for 13 yards, which is, over half the efficiency of Darrell Henderson. And then, I don't have targets, but Darrell Henderson had 3 receptions for 12 yards, and Cam Akers, it looks like he had a target that he didn't catch, because he's showing up on this one. It doesn't show the targets.
So Henderson out-touched him then, basically, right?
Yeah, by just a little bit. It was pretty. But again, we're talking San Francisco defense, who I think is really starting to turn it on. A defense that I expected to be top 3, top 5-ish, starting to look really, really good. So that whole offense shit the bed. I mean,
no doubt about it.
Is the only one.
Dallas is a good defense too. I think the Cowboys are a good defense as well.
Yeah,
and I think you can run on the Vikings. Now, I don't know how the Bears are going to deploy their backs this week, but I think you have to start Cam Akers, but it's not even remotely going to surprise me if Herbert outperforms it this week.
I think the Cowboys are middle of the pack against the run, though, if I remember correctly.
They could be, Bryce. I'm not sure.
They're number 11 against running backs in fantasy. So That's not. I mean, that's not a great matchup. The Vikings are 27th, so your point does stand for sure. But I'll go Cam Akers. I'll lean Cam Akers, but David Montgomery could be. I mean, it sounds like he's going to play, but it seems like your coach didn't even know if he was going to play. Rick, did you see that?
Yeah, it would. I mean, if they put him out there and there's any talk about a pitch count or anything like that, then I could get on board for Khalil Herbert. But I mean, whether we like it or not, David Montgomery is the lead back in this offense. So if he's healthy,
he should be.
He is going to see. I mean, I don't necessarily agree. I think Khalil Herbert does fit this offense in the wide zone running scheme a lot better. He's a one cut and go guy, but they're both good running backs, and unfortunately, Khalil Herbert's just not usable if Montgomery, at least with the knowledge that we have now, with both of them healthy, it's still Montgomery's backfield.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is active.
He is active?
Yeah.
Yes.
Xavier Howard, the Dolphins, is inactive.
I got to plug in Amon-Ra in a bunch of spots. Well, only like 3, but
well, that's like double, right? That helps Corey Davis twice in that question that we answered earlier.
Totally does. Yeah.
Xavier Howard being out's definitely a good thing for him. And so also full PPR start 2. I need upside here. His defense almost got as many points as me, starting Russ and Judy combined. Damian Harris, Breece Hall, Allen Robinson, Devin Singletary, or Ezekiel Elliott. So full PPR start 2. I think I go Breece Hall and Devin Singletary here.
I think that's the upside play.
Those are the ceiling plays for sure.
Yep. Should be Allen Robinson, but it's not.
Damian Harris would have to give you 3 touchdowns to get his ceiling, right? I mean, he could get 2, but he'd have to get 3 for a big. Breece Hall is starting to take over, and Singletary's on one of the most powerful offenses in the league. So I'll go there as well. Pick 2, half PPR: Dameon Pierce, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, or Curtis Samuel. Who you got, Rick?
Oh, man. Well, Dameon Pierce is in there, right? Like, the touches he's getting, he's in there. I love Curtis Samuel this week, but I probably go Pierce and Kamara. Kamara's just got such a huge ceiling. Obviously, he could get you 4 touchdowns today. I probably go Pearson, Kamara. I really like Curtis Samuel this week. I'm trying to get him in lineups everywhere I've got him. Tennessee's, giving up the 4th most points to the wide receiver on the season. Curtis Samuel's had at least 7 targets in 3 of the 4 games. He scored at least 12 fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games. He's been pretty consistent, and he's been highly utilized in that offense. So I love getting him in there, but I just think Kamara's upside, if he's playing, is just too high to sit.
I agree. I'm going Dameon Pierce and Kamara as well for everything you just said. Sully, do you disagree?
No, I don't. I agree 100%.
I like Curtis Samuel a lot this week. I've got him starting in a few places, but I got no other better options at all, he's a good option, so I can't complain. I have Kyle Pitts, unfortunately. So do you think I should try and trade him even though his value's low, or should I just try and keep him and pray for the best?
This depends on if it's redraft or dynasty. Because right now it's hard with Kyle Pitts in redraft, right? Like, he's got upside on a week-to-week basis. But here's the thing. As bad as Kyle Pitts has been, and this is going to show how bad the tight ends are, he's still tight end 18 on the year. He's not that far off of the guys that are right there on the border of top 12. But he gives you an upside that most guys don't have on a week-to-week basis. We had this question asked on the channel on a short that we had dropped, is why do we keep giving Kyle Pitts a chance? Well, for one, he's not that different from most tight ends. There's only a few tight ends that you can count on week to week. Right now, it's really just Travis Kelce and Andrews, right? And then Gerald Everett to some extent. Basically, every other tight end has been really inconsistent to start the year. Conklin's been Conklin's been consistent, but he doesn't have the upside that those guys have, right?
Right.
So I don't mind holding Kyle Pitts. I don't mind throwing him in there. Obviously, he's out this week, but you get an upside play, and all the freaking tight ends are trash this year. The position's just a mess, and him being the 18th tight end just shows how bad that position's been because he has not put up very many points this year.
Sully.
This one freaking pisses me off on so many levels.
Kyle Pitts guy.
Listen, Kyle Pitts had 61 receptions as a rookie last season, and Kyle Pitts didn't get shitty over the offseason. The offensive coordinator and the play caller got shitty. They don't throw the football in Atlanta, and when they do, they don't throw it to Kyle Pitts. So I don't care how good or bad you are. If you're not getting targets, you're not going to do much. He blocked in line and his hand in the dirt 15 times last year. He's done it 25 times this season already. So the offense has changed. That said, I'm not trading him because I'm going to get absolutely nothing for him because his value is so suppressed. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to hold him, and I don't care what format I'm playing. If it's guillotine, redraft, dynasty, empire, I'm holding on to Kyle Pitts because talent eventually will win out. He will start to get targets, and he'll start to perform. The only thing the guy misses in his game is touchdowns. That's the differentiator. I'm not doing anything with him except holding him.
I'll hold as well. Definitely not trading him in Dynasty. I would imagine if the Falcons keep losing, they'd at least give Desmond Ridder a shot later in the season. And I think he'd be better for Kyle Pitts because I think he's a more polished passer than Marcus Mariota. And that's not saying much. So
I don't know if he is better or worse because he's also a pretty good runner too, right?
Yeah, he is a good runner, but I do think he's a better passer than Mariota. I watched him in Cincinnati. He's an accurate guy. Throws to the big-bodied wide receivers. He had Alec Pierce there. So it seems like Kyle fits the build for the kind of people he likes to target. So I think that'd be better for him. So like you said, I think talent eventually wins out. If you can trade him based on name value and redraft, you could always send out feelers to try and get.
I really thought Mariota was going to be good for Pitts. I really thought he'd be good for Pitts after what he did with Delaney Walker, right? I thought he was going to leverage the tight end, and it just isn't happening. So I could be wrong again.
And why I said it depends on redraft or dynasty for me is obviously dynasty. You're holding for sure. Redraft, like if you're in a bad spot, if you're 1-3 and you have a tight end, like let's say you drafted Kyle Pitts and then you had Gerald Everett. Then I could see getting another piece to your roster with Kyle Pitts one way or the other because you can't wait around at that point. You got to start making shit happen. So that's what I was going to refer to there. If I'm 4-0 with Kyle Pitts on my roster and I have a Gerald Everett, then at that point you can hold. You probably already got the guy on the bench that you can use to continue that stretch. But redraft, sometimes you have to be drastic, and even dropping Kyle Pitts for the right pickup could be something that help turn your team around because you can't afford to wait for them to start utilizing him. It just doesn't feel good at all, right? Like that would really stink. Tyler says, "Thanks, guys. No problem, Tyler."
Saquon went off holding his arm. I'm a little worried right now.
No.
I think he's okay, but he hasn't come back.
No, that's the core to my SFB undefeated team.
He's in the tent. Apparent shoulder injury.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, both active today.
Excellent.
That is good news because that's a lot of. I have both of them in our Superflex league,
and I have Teddy going in a league. So that's very good news for Teddy.
I had to check the
PPR.
Saquon fantasy points. I need him to come back and get some.
Yeah. Bryce, did you see that?
What?
Saquon's in the tent.
Yeah, he came off the field real quick. I saw, but he got up real fast and jogged off. So I'm not sure what
it is. His shoulder though, so jogging's probably not the issue.
Okay, I thought it was his leg the way he landed.
Rick might not be a doctor, but he's bang on there.
Full PPR. Choose one running back and a flex. We've got Bryce and Ramondre, London, McKenzie, and Mooney. Well, Mooney's out of this picture. Let's not even talk about Mooney.
McKenzie might not play.
I'm going with Bryce and Ramondre, I think.
Yeah, so we've been collectively, Bryce and I have been pretty down on Drake London just based on what he's up against this week. So he's out for me. Mooney, put him in the Allen Robinson category, should be good, but isn't. And McKenzie, I don't know if he's playing or not. And I think Breece Hall, part of me is taking a hold of that role. And I like Ramondre's touches in both the run and the pass. So it's Bryce and Ramondre for me.
Yeah, it's Bryce and Ramondre for me as well. Mooney did have a decent game last week. It wasn't anything super special, but I think he had 4 for 80. So
yeah, but
usual.
They finally hit on a long one on a 56-yarder, so that was a big chunk play. Now, I do think they're going to get better, right? They are still learning this new offense, and Mooney, literally, I think in 3 out of the 4 games, has talked about how he's ran the wrong routes. Like, he has specifically talked about how he's ran plays the way they ran them in last year's offense. They're still trying to get used to the new playbook and everything. So I do think as this season progresses, Mooney's going to work his way back into that startable wide receiver conversation, but it's just going to take time. It's just going to be an ugly process to watch this young offense not suck. We're seeing the same issues, though, right? Like, everybody wants to pile on Justin Fields. I hear it all the time, and maybe it's just because people know that I'm invested in the Justin Fields. But we're seeing the same thing with Russ Wilson, changing offenses and going to a new team, missing wide-open guys, right? We see the video from Thursday night where the guy's just wide open on the right side of the field, and Russ isn't even seeing them. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't know the offense in and out. Like, he's been in the same offense for 10 years, however many years he's been in the league. Switching offenses, I don't think people realize like how disjointed a team can be switching that stuff. We've seen it with the Vikings, right? The Vikings were in Justin Jefferson. They were this new offense was supposed to be this high-powered passing offense, and it's been a little disjointed at times. And it's
100%.
Kirk has looked off, and Justin Jefferson hasn't put up in some of the weeks the points that we would hope. I think
Dalvin's struggling as well, right?
So that stuff is stuff that everybody's got to kind of take some time to learn. But at least we did see Jefferson come back with another big week last week.
If Russ did see KJ Hamler, he probably would have missed him anyway. So I think people are getting a little bit too upset. Like, he missed Jerry Jeudy like 4 times in that game, and it was like the most frustrating thing ever. But apparently his shoulder is all messed up, so maybe that's
we don't have a ton of questions. So I got to ask this in regards to Russ Wilson, right? Have you guys been hearing all the reports about how all his teammates hate playing with him after Richard Sherman came out and said some stuff about him, and how he wasn't held to the same standard as everybody else on that Seattle team, and then seeing some of the faces that he's getting, like Melvin Gordon. There was a picture of Melvin Gordon, like looking at him, like, what the?
When you gonna start cooking? We're hungry.
Yeah, I mean, and then Eli Manning comes out and he's like, "Oh, they should have paid the kicker $245 million," and it's just, I was a huge Russ fan, and this whole move and I think it's part of it's the way that he got out of Seattle, and then part of it's just the way that I guess he acts and kind of seems like a guy that may feel like he's bigger than the team. What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to get it figured out in Denver, or do you think if this continues a little bit longer, he may really tarnish his name?
Yeah, I don't even know what to think. I didn't expect it. He seemed like one of those nice guys that everybody would love to play with, but I don't know. Richard Sherman also is a little bit. He's kind of crazy. It's like, who else, is there any other players that have been talking about it? Like, I know they caught the face of Melvin Gordon, but that could just be a pic. It's just a picture. So it's like I'd want to almost hear from like what the players are saying right now with him. Like, is he acting like he's too good?
Well, the problem is that none of the guys that are playing with him now are ever going to say anything until they're not playing with him, right? Like, right. Even Sherman in interviews when they were playing would talk about how everything was good and he was a fierce competitor. And then as soon as Richard Sherman wasn't on the team anymore, and there was another player that said something. I can't remember which player that was. I think they were actually on an interview at Sitem. But anyways, neither here nor there. Sully, you can respond to that.
I just really quickly. So Kyle Brandt, Good Morning Football, had a pretty good rant about Russell Wilson. If you haven't seen it, check that out. Sounds like he's not a very well-liked guy. And I'm a big body language guy. And when you watch receivers throwing their arms up in the air and dropping their head and kicking the dirt, they're not happy. And like you referred to Melvin Gordon, look at him like, who are you? Because we heard you were good and you suck. And Russ has always been that clapping hands, rah-rah guy on the sidelines. And watch when he does that. The rest of his teammates look at him like, sit down and shut the hell up. Like, I don't think they like him. That's my gut. But they don't not like him because, well, I don't know this, but my take is they don't dislike him because he's not a nice guy. They dislike him because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, and that's winning. So if he starts to win, if they start to win, he could be the biggest dick in the world and they'll be fine. Aaron Rodgers made a career of being an asshole, and the Packers don't mind him. So you just got to win football games.
True story. Khalil Herbert or Juju, half PPR. Sully.
I'm going to go Juju here, and I'm worried about him this week, but Herbert's going to be in a split probably. So, again, it's predicated on Montgomery. If Montgomery doesn't play, I'm going to go with Khalil Herbert. If he does, I'm going to go with Juju. Bryce?
Yep, I agree 100%. It's Juju for me, and if Montgomery's out, it's Khalil Herbert rather easily. Rick?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Let's go Giants.
Daniel Jones out here slinging
Looking
it.
good. It's looking good.
That's pretty good.
Joshua Palmer will be active today.
There you go.
Good.
Alvin Kamara is active today.
That's good.
Oh, coming.
Jarvis Landry is inactive.
Oh, that's not so good.
Olave and
Olave, and then the wide receivers that they were running out last year as their number ones and twos.
Yeah.
Callaway and Traquan.
Probably
Juwan Johnson at tight end.
Deontay Hardy, because he changed his name,
Yep.
right? Deontay Harris. Let's see, what else do we got here? What other news? Alvin Kamara will be, I said that one. Jonnu Smith and Mac Jones inactive. Jacoby Myers is active.
That's good.
So that's the updated news here.
Tyquan Thornton's playing today. Did you hear that?
Is he really?
Bailey Zappi, baby.
I'm looking
I don't know
forward to Thornton.
I don't know how involved he'll be, but I know I'm pretty sure he practiced and got taken off IR, and he's expected to be active today. So.
Yeah, it's probably like Velus Jones last week, right? Like,
yeah,
he didn't play at all on offense, and then he drops a potential game-tying punt return. Cool. Curtis Samuel. I'm assuming this is Curtis Samuel versus Chris Godwin. If it's Debo, it's easily Debo. But
I'm Godwin here, assuming it's Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, same. Debo is a no-brainer, but I like Chris Godwin this week. I think he has a big week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Chris Godwin just because he's in the better offense that you can kind of rely on. That Washington offense might shit the bed, different weeks. Other weeks they might get to hurdle it up 50 times and put up some points. But I like Samuel a lot, but I just got to go with the Tampa Bay offense and the better quarterback. Ben also says thanks, and we you are welcome, and thank you for coming out to the show. Devonta Smith, Curtis Samuel, or David Montgomery. I also have Khalil Herbert, full PPR. I honestly think I'm going Curtis Samuel here. I like Curtis Samuel a lot. Devonta Smith, I think, is going to be up and down. And David Montgomery, even coming back, don't know how much work he's going to get. I think Curtis Samuel gives you a similar floor to a running back. With a high enough ceiling to play in this spot. Sully, what do you think?
I think you're right, but I'm going to go with Devonta Smith, and I do agree. I think he's an up and down, but I think against Arizona this week is an up week. So I'm going to go with Devonta here, but Curtis Samuel would be my second choice for sure. Bryce?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Devonta Smith as well. I'm not really going to count last week because I think weather really just hindered most everybody's production on that team. So he is on a 2-week tear there, hoping he kind of continues it to an extent. I'll go Devonta Smith, but I also really like Curtis Samuel this week.
Corey Davis or Hunter Renfrow, full PPR. Bryce, where are you going with this one?
I'll go with Corey Davis. I just like the way he's been consistent the past 2 weeks. It seems like Zach Wilson really does like him. I can't imagine the Jets are in any situation where they don't have to throw the ball most of the game. So I'll go with Corey Davis as a safe play here. Sully.
I really like Hunter Renfrow, but I'm going to go Corey Davis here as well. But it's a lot closer for me than it is probably for you, Bryce.
Yeah, it's Corey Davis for me. And I do think there is a gap because I think that unlike past years for Hunter Renfrow, even Mac Hollins has carved out a role in this Raiders offense. So now you've got Devontae Adams, you've got Darren Waller, you have Mac Hollins. There's just a lot more competition. Obviously, Josh Jacobs had a huge week last week. So there's a lot more to go around. And just like we've seen with some of those other guys that we talked about that have changed offensive coordinators, coaches, this Raiders offense hasn't really got going yet. So we want to see them get full go. And then I think Renfrow might close that gap. But with that offense being a little bit slower than we thought it was going to be and everything else that's going on, I think Corey Davis is, ahead by a decent amount right now. Renfrow can get back into that conversation, though. But that offense needs to get going.
Didn't Mac Hollins produce with Renfrow out, though?
He actually, the week before his 30-point week, he actually out-targeted Renfrow when they were both on the field. So that was starting to happen before, and then obviously the big week. So I just think that all of them are going to be involved. I think Renfrow being back and Hollins doing what he did when Renfrow was out really helps Waller and Adams as well, because now you can't just key on those two and you got to worry about this entire passing offense. But they're another team that's just got to get used to playing in this new offense and playing together. And you got new players, new coach, all that stuff. I
need Waller to get going, but I think you're right. They're just spreading the ball around.
Yeah, last week was another week for me where I've got in my dynasty best ball, I've got Waller, Pitts, and Everett, and Everett saves me week after week in that.
Yeah.
Lewis Johnson says, "Love the channel. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, and that's what we're here to try to gain from everybody." Juju.
Touchdown! Sorry.
Giants?
Yeah.
Who scored?
Brightwell.
Damn it.
I don't care who it is.
That's
just score.
Saquon. I want
Saquon sprinted to the locker room. They're probably just getting x-rays to make sure, but
I'm telling you, if I can, I'm favored every match the rest of the season in SFB. I want to go undefeated in that thing. I want to be the last undefeated team left.
Sorry, Lewis. I totally hijacked your question.
We didn't get to the question yet. We were just talking about how much.
I hijacked the damn show.
Juju or Edmonds, Mostert. I have both at the flex and full PPR. It's got to be Juju right now, right? Like I thought Edmonds was going to be more involved, and I think they're just going to, as long as they've got Waddle and Hill both on the field, they're just going to freaking get them the ball as many times as possible. Bryce?
Yeah, it's Juju for me, but I mean, this backfield's kind of I talked to Sully earlier on the show about it. Like, I thought it was going to be Raheem as the main rusher, and then Edmonds was going to be the guy that's more there involved in the passing game. Seems like Raheem has now had more rushing attempts 2 weeks in a row, and I expect that to continue. And he's not really involved in the pass game, so I really don't want any part of either of them. So I'll go Juju here, and then I would prefer Mostert over Edmonds.
Sully, you're supposed to do that before the show.
I do it all the time. I ran out. Had to fill up.
Need that smart water running through your veins before you start answering people's questions.
Trust me, that shit does not work. I drink water.
All right.
I don't even know if I answered that question. I was too excited by the Giants touchdown, but I'd be Juju there as well.
Philly defense versus the Cardinals or Dallas defense versus the Rams. Both defenses have been playing amazingly well the first few weeks of the season. Sully, what do you think?
Right?
I think we talked about how do you bet against the Eagles defense, but I'm thinking now, so Stafford throws the most picks in the NFL.
Yep.
They're going to get sacks. They're going to probably turn the ball over. Kyler probably escapes some sacks and extend some plays with his legs. So I think you can't go wrong here, but I might actually go with Dallas over Philly here.
Bryce.
I'll stick with Philly. It just seems like anybody they play against, they're getting sacks and interceptions. Yeah, Kyler might avoid a couple of them, but I'll stick with the hot hand at the defense right now. I really like both options though. I think there's no really wrong answer here. Rick.
I'm going Dallas, and we talk about it all the time, right? Like it's hard to predict defensive touchdowns, but when you can couple a defense that takes the ball away via the interception, and then you talk about the quarterback that throws the most interceptions, that's the recipe for a pick six, right? And that's what we really want. I'm going Dallas. They can do everything on defense. They can sack you. They take the ball away as well. I mean, Diggs, we know all the interceptions he had last year. And then we've got just an offense that's struggling, but they're going to continue to drop back 40 times a game. So I think the recipe is there for Dallas to just tear Stafford up this week and potentially get us a touchdown. Good morning, gentlemen. Great content. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Start Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to say if you've got anybody else, I would start them because I do not want this matchup. I do not want Kenny Pickett versus the Bills. Even with all the Bills injuries, they have been hard as hell on opposing quarterbacks and offenses. And I would just like to avoid this whole Steelers offense, if at all possible, versus the Bills this week. So if I have to start one, I'm still going Deontay. I just think he's the safer play. Obviously, we did see Pickens kind of break out last week, but that's still I still trust Deontay Johnson more because he's just done it his entire career. 10 points, a week. Bryce, where you going?
Yeah, it's Deontay for me as well. George Pickens is going to have to do it at least 2 weeks in a row before I start putting him in my lineups. I really like George Pickens. If you've listened to me at all in the offseason, I think he will be one of the better rookies by the end of the season. But this matchup is horrendous. I'll take the guy I think gets the most targets with Deontay Johnson. Sully.
Yeah, I'm sitting them both if I can, but if I can't, to Rick's point, it is Deontay. But it is interesting that we see these second-tiered sort of offensive players meshing together, right? Like Cooper Rush and Noah Brown, and Pickens had 37% target share after he came in last week. So it is still Deontay Johnson, but keep your eye on George Pickens. I think he's about to take a step.
Sarp Erden says, when will it be right to start Brian Robinson? Sully. Not
this week. He's going to apparently have 20 snaps this week. So we'll see what he does. Obviously, it's roster dependent. Bye weeks are coming. It's going to be sooner rather than later. I think he's always been set out to be their goal line guy. So I think they get some opportunities there. He could easily score this week, but I'm not going to start him this week, but I'm going to make an educated decision based on what I see out of him this week. I think it's coming soon. Bryce?
The answer is when he proves it, right? I mean, he's going to be limited this week. So unless he's like super efficient on the 20 snaps that he's on the field, and he's 100% healthy next week. But even then, I would want to see him playing 100% healthy with no snap count and productive before I put him in the next week. So,
I'm probably starting him next week, right? This is kind of like you remember 2 weeks ago when I was like, oh, let's not start J.K. Dobbins. And then these guys talked me into starting J.K. Dobbins. And then J.K. Dobbins scored 6.5 points. And we were just a week early, right? Last week, he has multiple touchdowns, scores big points. I think that's where Brian Robinson's at because this isn't like the typical injury that we see. They're probably just making sure that, his incisions and everything, like they're probably just making sure all that stuff because he didn't have like the muscle pull, right? Like straight, he got shot. And
so crazy.
If any of that stuff would have happened, right? Like if it would have taken out his hamstring or something like that, he wouldn't be back on the field already. So he probably doesn't have any muscle damage in the sense of like re-aggravating a hamstring or something. So they're just easing him back in, and I think next week it's his backfield. And I already seen a meme, Antonio Gibson walking into the special teams room saying, "I'm back."
I saw that too.
And that was half PPR for Eddie's question about Deontay and George.
I don't think it changes my answer.
Doesn't change anything for me either. We already talked about that. Thank you, Jeff, for dropping that in here. I needed it. Hayden
Hopefully
says,
comes out soon.
Hopefully it's just, if anything, it's just rest a game. Like, hopefully this is not.
Rest the rest. Let's just rest the rest of this game, not next week. I'm going to need him back.
I just want him back. So I want him back right now, but at the same time, I don't want him to miss multiples. So
I also have Julio Jones is inactive and Russell Gage is active for Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And Cole Beasley retired.
I missed that altogether.
Breaking news. Oh, did you?
I did.
Like
and then
Monday.
I think it's the Giants that are trying to get him to unretire and sign.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like Daboll's like, dude, let's go. And he's like, I'm done.
I mean,
The Giants have no pass catchers, right? Although they're doing okay today.
They're not really doing all right.
We're talking
Daniel Jones is kind of spreading it out. Really,
I don't care. They're still doing okay.
I mean, they're doing their job. They're just not putting up fantasy numbers. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. Pick 2: Lamb, Etienne, or Mostert. It's Lamb.
Yep.
We don't even need to discuss him. I think it's Etienne just because he gets some catching receptions, and Mostert doesn't. I'm probably going Etienne. I do think Etienne is going to have a big week at some point. So, yeah, Etienne for me. Sully.
I'm agreeing with you. I think that I just don't know what to expect out of Miami's backfield today. So I'm going to stay away from it altogether whenever possible. And this is when it's possible. So Lamb is an easy one and Etienne's the other one for me. Bryce?
Saquon's back on the field, by the way. Mostert is my pick. I just think that with Teddy Bridgewater out there, I think they go of a more balanced approach than they have with Tua. So I think they're going to make sure the run game's established. So I see him getting 15 to 20 attempts like we saw last week. Hopefully, maybe he gets a catch in there sprinkled in. So, but it's close. I think you could flip a coin for Etienne and Mostert, but I'll lean Mostert.
Saquon's back in a big way.
Oh yeah, that's a 20-yard catch. Oh, never mind, 30-yard, 40.
Maybe he just had to poop.
40-yard catch. 40-yard catch.
Maybe he had to poop.
Maybe he had to poop. That's what everybody did. Just take the cart.
He needed the old DK Metcalf cart off the field.
Right?
Dude, I read that, and I had him in my lineup, and I was like, no. And then he had to poop. I was like, he didn't even get a catch after that either.
It was so funny because he tweeted after the game, and he said the clinch walk wasn't going to work.
Totally, eh? I love that.
Yeah, that was good.
What was that, about 40 yards?
Yeah, 40 yards. 40-yard
Awesome.
catch and run.
Bear down, baby. Bear down. He needs 2 full PPR. Jamal Williams, he's in. Lock it in. Jamal Williams is in. Jeff Wilson, Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad Penny, David Montgomery. Sully, do you agree that Jamal Williams is locked in as a starter? And then who would you go with the other one if so, or which 2 would you go with if you don't agree about Jamal Williams?
I think he has to be. I'm a little concerned about him this week. I'm not as high on him as most, but I don't know how you would sit him at this point. And then the rest of the way here, I think it's Jeff Wilson. I like Penny, but I don't like the matchup. I like Ramondre, but I don't really know how that's going to play out. And Monty, there's just too much confusion there. So I'm going to lead Jeff Wilson because I know he's going to get the vast majority of the touches out of that backfield. It's probably going to want to run 20 some odd times a game. So that's where I'm going. What are you doing, Bryce?
Yeah, I agree. We talked about it earlier, Rick. I don't think the Patriots have allowed a rushing touchdown so far this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if Williams broke that streak today. His usage and efficiency is it's a guy that nobody can dislike in the NFL, and he plays well. So you got to put him in there with Swift out. And I'm going to agree with Sully. I'm going to go Jeff Wilson Jr. I like his the consistency that we see with his workload. It might be the wrong answer. Like it could be a Ramondre Stevenson week, but I'll go with a safer safer bet and go with Jeff Wilson Jr. I like the 18 to 20 touches that he gets. Did he score?
No. Who do the Niners play this week?
Oh, the Niners? They play the...
It's not a bad defense, if I remember correctly.
Panthers.
Oh.
Yeah, you can run against the Panthers.
You can do anything you want against Panthers.
I'm going Ramondre Stevenson. I think here, I would listen to the news on David Montgomery. If they say David Montgomery's going and he's full go, then I'm starting David Montgomery as the second running back here.
Really?
Yeah. I think all the other four guys are real close. I think Jamal Williams is way ahead of everybody, and then it could literally be any of these guys. But I think I go Ramondre. We saw what Rashad Penny did to this defense last week.
Yep.
I like Ramondre. And then, but if the news is Montgomery's full go, then he just gets too many touches. He gets work in the passing game. He gets, he's the only one, outside of Williams and Wilson that we're sure is going to get the work if he's full go. But he's just more talented all around than Jeff Wilson is. So that's where I would go with that one. Eddie says, thank you. You are welcome. And thank you for coming out. Eddie, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and come back next Sunday when I will be on time.
The Giants might win this game. That's great.
It'd be awesome. Michael says Wentz or Cousins.
Bryce. Terrible call.
Who do the Vikings play this week?
Bears.
The Bears. The Bears.
And Wentz is against Tennessee with like the worst passing defense.
They're fourth. They've given up the fourth most points to fantasy. That doesn't necessarily translate to. Is that Giants touchdown?
Saquon
Barkley.
Let's go.
Yeah, buddy. That's good for me.
Welcome to the We Hate the Green Bay Packers live stream.
I just like Saquon. I don't hate Green Bay. We almost beat Green Bay with our third string quarterback last year, so
it's like double for me.
It's so exciting when the guy you want to score scores and the team you hate is losing.
Yes, it's like the best thing ever. So
what am I doing here? I'm gonna go.
I'll go Wentz.
Sorry, go ahead. You went. I'm going with Cousins. I think Cousins plays well when no one's watching, and no one's going to watch this game.
True.
And he plays well at home, and this game's at home. I'm watching.
Nobody?
I'm watching too. Carson Wentz is he could throw for 3 touchdowns, but he could also throw 4 picks. He's so inconsistent for me.
Patrick.
I'm starting Teddy Bridgewater over Carson Wentz in a league this week. What does that tell you?
And Michael tells me no Bears bias. This is Mountain Bryce.
Oh, okay.
From Warzone.
Yeah,
I mean, you're never going to get bias from me. I'm going to give you the honest opinion. And here's the thing with the Bears right now. Jalen Johnson is not playing, right? He's the shutdown corner that we've got, the one that doesn't get targeted. That's a big problem. He hasn't played since like week 2. So it's a big problem with the Bears right now because now Vildor's out there. You've got Kyler Gordon, who is learning outside and inside, which is, I don't know why they decide to do this his rookie season. Like either put him in the slot or put him outside and then let him get used to one of them and then work him in like his second year. But they're kind of fucking this kid up, to be completely honest, because there's just too much for a rookie cornerback to learn the nickel corner and outside corner. The Bears can be passed on right now. That's just no doubt. With Jalen out, it hurts. They can cause some turnovers because their safeties are ball hawks with Brisker and Eddie Jackson, but Cousins could just tear them up. And I will never trust Carson Wentz. I don't care what the matchup is. I don't care anything about that. I trust Kirk Cousins, especially when it's not prime time, more than Wentz for sure. So it's Cousins versus the Bears. You can pick on the Bears right now for fantasy. Like, that's just the way it is.
I can't shit talk anything because we play you this week, so it'll backfire on me.
Hey, talk it.
Nope.
Thank you all for the advice. Defense-wise, I'm going with Dallas this week, but I think Philly is probably better long-term. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I think they're
Agree
both
100%.
good, though. I would just recommend that you pick one after the bye weeks are over. Like Philly has a bye week next week, so start Dallas this week, this week and next week, and then decide which one are you keeping and get rid of the other one so that you don't have that decision every week where you're pissed off because you left the one on the bench that scored the most points and all that, and then get you upside somewhere else. Because I think if you have Philly, they get back, you can just put Philly in and leave them in for the rest of the year, unless they end up getting decimated by injuries. Sully, what do you think about that?
I agree. The only thing I would say is if for some reason you're 4-0 and you can afford to hang on to both those defenses, as you get back into the latter part of the year, when you come into your fantasy playoff times, it's nice to have more than one defense because you can leverage the matchup. But Rick's not wrong. 99 times out of 100, I'm going to carry one defense and get rid of the other. But he's right. Carry Dallas for 2 weeks and then make your decision. I don't disagree at all. Bryce?
Yeah, I agree. I can't blame you for starting Dallas. Just if you don't have a better person on the waivers or something, I guess you could keep both and stream who you like most. But
Like you're not trading a defense, right? Like no one's trading for a defense, are they?
I mean, you might be able to get them too.
I've never seen that, but I'm not.
I want to see Jeff put on his salesman hat and go out there and sell the defense that he wants to get rid of and try to get something back. No, Michael, Vikings defense is not one that you really want to play this week, to be honest with you. And the reason why is because the Bears don't throw enough, and that's where you get the points. Oh, sorry, I didn't even put it up.
And it's not very good. You can run on them too, and that's a problem for Minnesota today. Is my biggest concern is you can run all over us, and Vikings don't get a ton of sacks. They're not going to turn the ball over because Fields isn't going to throw an interception because he might not throw the ball at all. So, no, I don't think the Vikings
in a dynasty. Fields,
for who?
Fields, I traded for him. I traded Stafford in like a third for Fields in a first.
That's a great trade.
I know.
Yeah. People, I mean, we'll talk about this. We got Calvo's.
I sold it too.
Deontay or Damian Harris? Sully.
Man, normally this would be Deontay without hesitation, but it might actually be Damian Harris today. I'm going to go Harris.
Yeah, it's Damian Harris today and only today.
Gross.
Bad, horrible matchup.
I agree.
I still can't believe they're starting Kenny. I can't believe
it was so funny because
I know, right? It's the first thing I thought of.
I'm like, dude, I don't know. Tomlin just reminds me of like Belichick, where he'll do whatever he thinks is best for the team to win. I think that's all it comes down to. Like who's going to win? I think he can get Kenny Pickett's mind right. I think it's a win-win situation. Even if he goes in there and gets stomped, if they go in there and get stomped, all right, people expected it. But if he goes in there and puts up a good fight against them, like I think a good fight and a loss boosts his confidence a lot. So
totally does.
I don't think losing bad will really hit it that hard because I think people are expecting it. You know what I mean? So
and the Steelers suck. So if you let Pickett play and he's no good, you still have an early draft choice to fix it again next year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to talk. You didn't get to answer this. You go ahead and answer this.
No, I said I agreed with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was talking about the Fields thing. I kind of sold it a little bit. I was like, man, I'm kind of worried about Justin Fields. I don't know about him. I know his offensive line just needs work, and the offense is new, of course. So
you've been hanging out with Leone too long.
I was Stafford's going to turn it around, dude. He's going to turn it around.
And he probably will.
And I've got 2 first-round picks. I've got Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, and Justin Fields. So I can use a first-rounder and get another quarterback probably, and then probably definitely need a running back.
Are you rebuilding?
Soft rebuild, kind of. I mean, like I could compete next year. Just injuries have killed me now because I was somewhat competitive, but I just lost Javonte Williams, and I'm thin at running back. So
because if Deshaun comes back hot, you could trade him at your deadline too.
I'm trying to win because I traded my first early in the season because I thought my roster would compete, but now I have 2 first-round picks of people that are 1 and 3. So I'm not going to try and lose.
All right.
Yeah. So what I was going to say in regards to this is that people, they don't want to they don't want to talk about everything that's going on with Chicago's
Right.
offense when they talk about Justin Fields, right? And yes, I am invested. I am a big fan of Justin Fields, and I do think that he's going to be all right if the Bears don't ruin him. But when you're getting pressured at the highest rate in the NFL and your wide receivers are getting the least amount of separation in the NFL, and you've got a second-year quarterback in a second system of his career, that's a problem. That's a problem. and last week on the 14 pass attempts where he wasn't pressured, he was 10 for 14 for 160 of his yards. So we can see the underlying things where if they can get some better protection, they can get some wide receivers that can get separation, that makes a better situation for Justin Fields. You already got the run game set. You just need to improve a couple of those other things. He's still got things to learn, right? He's not perfect. He's a second-year quarterback. We still see mistakes with Joe Burrow in his third year after a Super Bowl appearance, right? 4 interceptions the first game. He did not play great. And Joe Burrow still holds the ball too long sometimes. And Justin Fields holds the ball too long sometimes. And you're going to see that with young guys. That's stuff that you get as you get more experience, you get better at. So, you know, it's easy to pick on them, but they're not throwing the ball a lot, and they have nobody getting open right now. And when they do get open, he does typically throw them the ball. So that shows me he's going through progressions well, because it's weird. How do your wide receivers have the lowest separation rate in the NFL? But when your quarterback targets a wide receiver, the wide receivers have the highest separation in the league, because that's where Justin Fields is at.
So he only throws the ball to the wide receiver when they're open, which is a good thing.
And
decision making is good, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, and there are points of bad decision making, but like when you look at last week's game, he was 11 for 22, but he had like 5 or 6 just pure throwaways, right? And then 2 dropped passes that I can remember. So there's a lot of that in a lot of the incompletions just bundled up right there, and making smart plays, getting the ball out so you don't take a sack, and then a couple drops there. So there's a lot more that when you look at the box score, it looks freaking horrendous. But when you actually look at the improvement, because the week before he was terrible, right? He played a terrible game in week 3 against Houston. So it's just easy for people to pile on that. The week after that game, when they see 11 for 22, hasn't thrown for 200 yards yet. It's frustrating, but I don't think that I think you got a great buy on Justin Fields there. Getting a first with that, like, winner.
I know. I was pumped. I was super pumped.
Dude, how do you like that I'm 1-3 in Grand Prix and I have scored the second most points?
Yeah, I know. I was like, I traded for your first, and I'm like, well, this first is going to be mid at best. At best. I'm like, he's got so many points scored. So, but I hope you lose, obviously, now that I have your first.
I mean,
right? I mean, come on.
Well, you know, other than the playoffs last week, like I just went through and counted because me and Cuss are chatting every day. And I was talking about that league. I'm just like, that league, like I had lost 14 times going in the last week, and 7 of them I had scored over 140 points.
That's nuts.
Yep. Tyquan Thornton is playing today.
Dude, I'm excited to see him.
I am too, because there's nobody that has blown the top off that D. I mean, Al Galore can, but it's just like he's had some good – he's played better this year than he has last year, but still, we need some speed through the middle, and I think Thornton is going to be that guy. He needs to put some weight on, though, if he's going to take some hits.
Just so you guys
Zappy
know,
has the arm. I'm waiting for that.
Know.
Just run straight, kid, and go catch it.
If you're in the chat, we do have a DraftKings contest, 20 people. I'm waiting to get it up. Will you guys remind me on like Thursday to get that up?
I'm not very good the last couple of weeks. I got to get better.
But
I got money on there. I got all my.
Do you guys have anything else?
No, go Giants.
Yes, go Giants. I want to watch the end of this game. And
Come on, one more Saquon touchdown. The Packers are driving, so
they are.
All right, I need to turn that game on. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys holding it down and going live, not waiting for me. That's awesome. That's another good reason why you've got access to all this. So, when my body says nope, it's been too much. Like I said, I was up 4:00 in the morning. I was getting everything set up for the stream so that we didn't have to rush and get it done before the show.
That's what I said to Bryce. He's probably working all night and he crashed.
Well, I knew you had some stuff going on with the.
It's been a long week. It's been a long week. and my body said, "Nah, we're gonna get a couple more
That
hours.
rest is needed.
But again, thank you guys. Thank you for everybody
Pleasure.
that tuned in, and good luck this week in your fantasy matchups. Let's go. I'm going to 10-0 in SFB. Let's go.
Good luck there, and good luck to everybody, and let's go Giants.
Let's go Giants. I'm a Giants fan right now.
I'm a huge Giants fan right now.
Later.
Peace.